So I threw the Senate at him. The whole Senate. True story.
Oh, my God, that is so funny.
You made it come out of my nose.
Go for Papa Palpatine.
You have a collect call from.
So I wrote a book in 1995, and I said that if the West doesn't wake up to the suicidal nature of militant Islam, the next thing you'll see is the militant Islam is bringing down the World Trade Center.
BuzzFeed dug up an old quote from Donald Trump talking about a large-scale terror attack 19 months before 9/11. In his 2000 book, The America We Deserve, Trump wrote, "I really am convinced we're in danger of the sort of terrorist attacks that will make the bombing of the 1993 Trade Center look like little kids playing with firecrackers." Trump also mentioned the mastermind of the attack, writing, quote, "One day, we're told that a shadowy figure with no fixed address named Osama bin Laden is public enemy number one, and U.S. jet fighters lay waste to his camp in Afghanistan. He escapes back under some rock, and a few news cycles later, it's on to a new enemy and a new crisis."
Wait. Look at the rubber chicken, you know? I should do like the whole tape with this in my hand, you know? Just totally like with the chicken right here, because everyone would be like, what the hell? What is death to Americans? Just let him do it. Let him do the tape. Yeah? Don't blame me, it was the chicken. It was he was a, oh, no, actually, no, you know what would be better? Wait.
The alliance between Israel and America has always been extremely strong. It's about to get even stronger. President Trump and I see eye to eye on the dangers emanating from the region, but also on the opportunities.
And so, next thing you know, we've got the designs of a building. And the first design meeting was in April of 2000. And construction began shortly thereafter, in 2002. But we ran into a problem. We couldn't collect the insurance because the insurance companies didn't want to pay. There were 22 insurance companies defending 22 insurers who didn't want to pay their obligations under the policies. And so they took me to court, and I had to beat them in court, the lower court, and then had to take an appeal and win in the upper court. So they owed me $4.5 billion. A new governor was just elected, Eliot Spitzer, an old friend who I knew well. I said, "Eliot, if you don't help me, I'll never collect from the insurance companies." And guess what? He listened, and he said, "You know what? You're entitled. I'm going to get you the money." And in 6 months, he got me the $4.5 billion. The insurance companies didn't like me, but at least I got the money.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, "You know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it." And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
I see what's happening down there. It's a mess. And the developer is actually a friend of mine, but he didn't want to build this building either. If you look back at the records, I mean, when it was first foisted upon him, Larry Silverstein is a great guy. He's a good guy. He's a friend of mine.
Hello, Perez Hilton here, and I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the Urban Movers and a special shout out to my boy, Lucky Larry. Don't forget to pull it. Happy Hanukkah!
27 hearts beat. The inauguration of Vladimir Putin was celebrated a year and a half ago with decidedly post-communist pomp and circumstance, but was renovated during the Yeltsin administration. Putin has pledged support to President Bush in the war against terrorism. He is allowing Russian airspace to be used for American cargo flights to back up our military campaign, and has offered to help in search and rescue operations and the sharing of intelligence. Behind the forbidding walls of the Kremlin, I met with the remarkably open Vladimir Putin. Mr. President, you were in your office and saw on television the attack on the World Trade Center. What did you think? What did you feel when you saw it?
It was a usual working day, but I had very mixed feelings. First of all, it might seem a little bit strange, but I had the feeling of guilt for this tragedy. We had talked about the possible threats to the United States, to other countries, but we're not able to determine who, where, and how they can strike. And this was the first feeling I had, the feeling of anger, and to some extent the feeling of guilt. But at the same time, I understood quite well what the American people and the American leadership felt at that time.
I know that when you met with President Clinton, you warned them about the bin Laden problem, and you have said that you were ignored, and that surprised you. Did you feel guilty that you hadn't told us more so that we would have been better prepared?
I wouldn't want to go into any assessments of my colleagues, including the former President of the United States, because he was in a very difficult situation. But even at that time, we certainly were counting on a more active cooperation in combating international terrorism. I don't know whether it would have been possible to prevent these strikes on the United States by the terrorists, but it was a pity that our special services didn't get the information on time and warn the American people and the American political leadership about the tragedy that came to pass.
I know that when you met with President Clinton, you warned them that you were the first world leader to telephone him. He was very grateful for that. What did you say to him when you telephoned?
I expressed our solidarity with the American people. I said that Russia itself suffered terrorist blows and explosions in the city of Moscow as well. And perhaps I understood better than many people what the American people and American president felt, and that the American people understand that in this dire moment in time, they are not alone.
After the events of September 11th, you seem to have made a strategic and historic choice to become much closer to the West, to the United States. This could be a risk for you here at home, where not everybody wants you to be that close. Why did you do it?
I may tell you right now something that may sound quite unexpected to you. This is a choice that Russia made for itself quite a long time ago. Unfortunately, it was not noticed by everybody, but after September 11th, it was impossible not to notice it. And I believe that the tragic events of September 11th opened our eyes to this and underscored the fact that if we want to be protected, we should be together.
Is the Cold War over?
Probably it was over a long time ago. There can be no doubt about the fact that the Cold War is over.
There can be no doubt about the fact that the Cold War is over.
There can be no doubt about the fact that the Cold War is over.
I said, we've had such terrible loss of life.
He says, I'm never letting him finger me again. And I said, no, Perez didn't know. He's an anti-Semite. He's just reading it.
I gotta cut it short because when I put this clip before, it just played such a major role in this.
Israelis were seen dancing around, and they were in an urban mover's truck of some sort. So when you say urban movers, that's just another dog whistle that, anti-Semitic.
For a few minutes, and that plane disappeared into the building, and it flew up.
It's flying right into the plane, into the building.
This is some towelhead bastards.
Well, we don't know who it is. We don't know yet, but I got a feeling.
It could be you can't say that, but I can say that. It's about time we take these towelhead bastards and throw them out of the damn country.
Well, don't overreact
yet. Nice to people,
Let's find out who it is. We're going to find out. Once I find out...
Then we'll get crazy.
Then we'll get crazy. Organizing a military action. Thank you.
Like, how do you combat this, though?
You know how. Reagan stopped them.
No, but go in there and you teach them a lesson.
We know where these people are.
Yeah.
We know exactly where they are. We need to send some cruise missiles over there right now. Right now.
Right now! Right now!
Right now! Right now!
Right now! Right now! And just start bombing the hell out of them.
Today.
We're always worried about the innocent civilians who live around.
You know what? Innocent civilians, so what? They shouldn't be living by these guys, supporting them, all that crap, okay?
How about this? We won't do anything.
What the hell?
We won't do anything. You wait and see. Some guys went to jail. Big deal. Guys. Where's this OB? Where's OB Bin Laden? Where's OB Bin Laden? Where's OB Bin Laden or whatever his name is?
We never declared war on.
They tried to get Bin Laden in 3 different places. Remember that?
Oh, come on. We can't get Bin Laden. There's something wrong in this world.
Death to Americans! Death to Americans!
Hey, Howard, I just talked to
over in
PLO does that after they blow up an Israeli,
the
town.
family gets compensated.
Yeah, the family is treated like heroes.
Is it Hamas or Hezbollah?
Hamas.
Hamas.
Well, let's bomb them too.
Let's bomb everyone.
But that's a bad idea. I thought it was Jackie the Joke Man.
Let's drop A-bombs. The Israeli intelligence.
You let them build up again.
Israel would take care of the problem for us, but we're now all of a sudden we're worried about how the PLO could get real.
I thought that was stupid in the first.
Yeah, let's just get real.
That's a good size jet to hit the second time.
Israelis could kill everyone over there. They got the manpower, they got the bomb, they got everything.
Loosen the reins.
Yeah, let them do their thing. Let them do it.
Didn't George W.'s father have the chance to go all the way when we went to war? Just go right in and
the Bushes don't have the chutzpah. They don't have the balls.
Notice they didn't do this when Reagan was on.
No. You need a guy who didn't grow up rich.
Guy who can
like me who will bomb things because he's angry. I love to bomb.
I had another warning.
I would say that the United States is losing not in the military, but in the information. It seems to me that on the information field, terrorists are acting more aggressively and more offensively, and they are presenting opposition in terms of emotions. As to the military dimension, in our assessment, things happen the way they should. And here, I agree with the leadership of the United States that it will take yet a lot of time, efforts, perhaps sacrifices, in order to bring the Afghani house in order.
When you say information, you are speaking of what we call public relations, getting the message out.
Yes, this is true. You're right. When we see civilian casualties, this is often exaggerated. But the objective of the enemy is to sway the unity of the international coalition.
And we are right now losing that part, losing that campaign.
Well, at least we're not winning it.
Another issues under which Russia would send ground troops to Afghanistan.
To us, this solution would be unacceptable. And I'll tell you why. To us, sending troops to Afghanistan is like, for you, U.S., returning your troops to Vietnam. But I should tell you something else. Even now, the Russian army is helping the United States, and not virtually, but actually, through intelligence, because we know the realities of Afghanistan. And we should also help the United States in rescue operations, including on the territory of Afghanistan. There's one more thing that I should mention. I showed to President Bush some intelligence data which indicate the plan of the international terrorists from Chechnya to Afghanistan with the direct objective of killing the Americans. And the American people should know about that. This is not some contrived propagandistic, talk. These are the realities of today.
Iran. Russia shares nuclear technology with Iran, ostensibly persons. But the CIA says that Iran could use this to build nuclear weapons.
Well, it is a legend which has nothing to do with reality. We have some projects in atomic energy. The U.S. has the same projects in its relations with North Korea. It has nothing to do with developing nuclear weapons. We are categorically opposed to transferring any technologies to Iran that would help it develop nuclear weapons.
Mr. President, there are reports that nuclear materials have been stolen or even bought on the black market by terrorists. Several Russian defectors have testified before the U.S. Congress that there are Soviet-era portable nuclear bombs, so-called nuclear suitcases, missing from Russia. Is that the case?
I don't really believe this is true. These are just legends. One can probably assume that somebody tried to sell some nuclear secrets, but there is no documentary confirmation of those developments. I can tell you more. In the context of the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, I believe that this is one of the foremost threats of contemporary times.
Which is one of the major things we'll be discussing when you come to America.
I believe that this is our most important topic of our discussion. So we'll discuss that, certainly.
Насколько мне помнится, и я читала это, говоря, на сайте Министерства иностранных дел, туда были встречи еще Виктория Нуланд, она сказала, что будет сидеть на назидание другим. То есть никаких разговоров по поводу обмена там Сенцова или Савченко мы не будем эту тему обсуждать. То есть это была, собственно говоря, сформированная кампания общественного мнения. И мне обращаться в американские, скажем, фонды с точки зрения каких-то, ну, скажем, правозащитников, я думаю, что они больше, наверное, поратовали бы
там за Сенцова или там